Good morning, everybody. Sorry it took me a minute to jump in here. I was scrolling back to the top of the chat because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss Fed Up's comment. Fed Up said, "Good morning. So thankful for this channel. Thankful for you. Do you notice how the man investigator looked at Ansley when she said foul play? It just got my attention. I love that this was the first comment because we're going to talk about that today. So happy Tuesday. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the best chat on YouTube. We got some cool chicks backstage. They're going to talk to us about this. One is local to the area and has been following the case since she got the endangered alert on the 15th. Really cool chick. You're going to like her. Let's see what other cool people are in here on this hot as hell Tuesday. Good morning, Katrina. Hello, Aggie. Hello, Angie, Gaelic, Tracy, Ula Girl, German Shepherd Mom. I love German Shepherds. There's my friend Liplock No More. Just got off the phone with her a little bit ago. Ree's Place. Good morning. Outlaw, Tina. How do you do that comment in italics? That's pretty. Mama K. There's our friend Mama K. Just me, Big T's mom. How are you? Jules. Let's see. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm scrolling too fast. I have this new mouse. Tammy, good morning. Fun to ski. There's our girl, Kat. Kat, how are you feeling, by the way? I saw you in Discord. Didn't even ask how you were feeling. Shannon, Georgia Peach. Shalma, hello. Am I saying your name right? I know I've asked you before. Hello, Sarah. Chris, good morning. Rianne, good morning. November Day, just talked to you too. Hope everyone's having a good day. There's our friend Pat K, DT driver. Good morning, Deb. If I missed anybody, I'll catch you later because you guys always leave the best comments and you guys are just awesome. Hello, Ethel, Miss Bree, Pebbles, 7 Alibis. There's our friend Erica. So I'm going to bring up our friend Truth Quest, Tennessee, local to the Rogersville area. I'm not saying she lives in Rogersville. She obviously has a different take on this case because she's right there. So let's all give a big round of applause to Truth Quest. Good morning.
Good morning, Brooks. Good morning, Chad.
How are you? Hello, Angel P. How are you, honey? So what's the temperature out there? Is it just hot, hotter, or humid?
It's not too bad yet, but it's supposed to be up in the 90s, and the heat index will probably be close to 100.
Yeah, I saw our heat index, and I'm like, we're getting that time of year when you see the temperature on the bank sign, you don't know if it's the time or the temperature. It's just too much. It's just too much. So glad you're in here. So you have been following since June 15th.
Yes. Since I got the endangered child alert.
The endangered. Can you speak up just a little bit?
Yes, since I got the endangered child alert on the 15th.
Okay. Do you know Muscles and Mascara? She lives out there too. Now, obviously, she's not listed in the phone book as Muscles and Mascara, but she's been on here several times. We got to get you guys together.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would know her or not.
Well, I just didn't know because, like different community and things that have gone on. So you were talking about how soon did all the posters and flyers go up?
I'm in where I'm at. I'm about 25 minutes from Rogersville. I saw maybe 2 missing posters in the beginning. Everybody's like, they're out hanging all these posters. I'm like, where are they hanging them at?
Mm-hmm. And you said you saw one at the gas station.
Mm-hmm. And one going in as you walk into the grocery store.
Okay. How many billboards are up in the area now? I know there's one off of 44 coming out, or out of 40 coming out of Memphis. Then there's another one on 40. I don't know if it's like before you get to Nashville or after, but in the area, how many are there?
I saw one on Stone Drive a while back, but I don't remember seeing it. It's one of those that kind of flash to one thing and then it'll go to another.
Oh yeah, those
Never
digital
done
ones.
that one on Stone Drive a while back. I don't remember the last time I drove by there seeing anything about summer.
And have you heard what they're doing with the reward money? Leslie was very clear in the TBI update last week. Again, I apologize for that audio. It was on their end, not mine. That's why we're going to go through it again today, because I think it's much more of an update than what we first thought. But so she made it clear that law enforcement has nothing to do with it at all. But I had heard that after the 15th of June, it was going to be distributed another way. Have you heard if they've done anything with it?
All I heard was the Churchill Rescue Squad Board of Directors were supposed to meet and discuss it and then decide, I guess, they could either extend the deadline or go ahead and donate it to the Children's Advocacy Center.
Got ya. Okay, so good cause either way. That's good.
Yeah.
And the problem with rewards is that there's no amount of money that's going to buy their freedom. We've talked about it several times in the Harmony Montgomery case, and I'm not putting anything down about a reward, because if it works, it works. Anything to prod something along, somebody that saw something, somebody that heard something, somebody that knows something. But it seems that the only ones that really know in these cases are the key players. Like I said, in the Harmony Montgomery case, I mean, I want to say it's like $150,000. It could be even more now. And, Adam and Kayla Montgomery, that's not going to help them,
I think if someone's going to come out, usually it's in the beginning when the reward first comes out, and when someone starts calling in, it's just odd there hasn't been like any reliable tips just for the reward money. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I really kind of thought that would spur somebody, especially with their circle of people. Somebody would have heard something, saw something. But like I said, I don't live there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, with everything that Jody has spouted out, you would think that there would be something in there that would help them.
That's what I would. They have more to lose. The people who know what happened has more to lose, would be my guess, than the money offered with the reward. If they came forward what the information they had.
You're 100% right. They've got a lot to lose. This stint that Don's doing right now, sitting in there for his probation violation, is nothing compared to what it's probably going to be. But then again, I'm on the fence about that. I mean, Don could have been at work all day. I don't know.
I wish we had confirmation of him being at work or not at work, or if he left.
Yeah, we have no idea. According to him, he has 7 alibis, and Candace is going down, to which she replied, I know. He said he was at work all day. Then Candace was on Outlaw Truckers panel and said, I don't know where he was that day. Yet we have screenshots, screenshots prove everything, right? Of her saying that her oldest son was at work with Don all day. Then we have the story with Hunter. They were talking about the boys, and she said they were at work with Don. So just in the first few hours of June 15th, we already had a problem with not telling the truth.
Right, with the dispatch call and then what they said happened. And then you've got her saying she walked her all the way to the door. Then there's proof in news articles that she said she walked her halfway to the door.
And then we read another article last week where she said she was standing between the camper and something else and watched her walk over. So what is it? It can't be all of them.
Exactly. So, I mean, the truth doesn't change.
Nope. The truth does not change. Well, let's go through some comments from the last show. Do you have a second?
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay, 2 days ago, Kathy said, I've been rewatching the TBI 1 year update on Summer. I noticed when Ansley asked for clarification if Summer was last seen walking away from home. Leslie seems to be shaking her head no. The male detective then states no evidence, but then pivots to man hours put in, which they do deflect a lot in these interviews. They don't want to answer the questions straight on. We've gone through that with the early TBI updates from last June, where a question is asked and another question's answered. So very smart on their part. So she said, but then pivots to the man hours put in. She said, I apologize in advance if I have missed your discussion on that. Nope, we're discussing it today, girlfriend. She said, but if the walking away statement was based on now inaccurate info, it could be a clue in the timeline. I totally agree with this comment.
Where did because that was on the first news reports that came out on our local news that she was last seen walking away from her Beach Creek home, is what it said.
Yeah. And that was in a very, like one of the very first like printed articles from WJHL. And, Leslie, her body language tells a lot because she was like just shaking her head. No, that can't be verified. I wrote down a couple of things. Of course, she said again, this is outside the norm. And she said this was last Wednesday on the 1 year anniversary. They still have few clues to what happened. If that doesn't unnerve you.
That's, I want to, are they doing it just because they're trying to keep so much close, or are they really not that much far ahead than they were?
It could be either or. We were having a discussion about this. I think it was the night of the anniversary. Muscles was on, and it's her opinion, and I agree with her really that they do know a lot more, but they're just not going to let on to the ones involved that they are close.
That makes sense to me, but I still, there's always that little, what if that comes in the back of my mind, like, what if they're not any much further? But I think they are, and I think they don't want to give too much away.
Well, and they shouldn't. As much as we would love to know, they really shouldn't, because the ones that are responsible will take steps to get that much further away. Obviously, Dawn's not going anywhere, but who the hell even knows where Candace is? Who even knows where Grandis is? I've heard Indiana, and I've heard Illinois, and I've heard Wisconsin. Who knows where she's at?
I've heard the same. I would much rather not know anything at all than having, that have a issue with jeopardizing the case or making it to where, there's not going to be justice.
No, because there was a time where the media, the mainstream media, was really heavily covering high profile cases, and they would give out a lot of information, and we saw a lot of acquittals that shouldn't have ever happened. We don't want that to happen.
No. So it's just heartbreaking.
It is.
I never thought we would be here a year. When I first saw that first press conference, I never thought it would be here a year later.
Lawson said the same thing. We never thought in a year we would be doing this. Never thought. And I believe him when he says it. Never thought in a year we would be doing this. All right, Lindsay Atkinson from England said, it doesn't take much brain power to put two and two together. All the lies in this case, gut feeling is the Wells know exactly what happened. everything that comes out of Candace's mouth I find is BS. How dare you, Lindsay? It's not in her metabolism to lie, but okay. Any mother would try anything to find her daughter speaks volumes. And that truer words have never been spoken, because that is one thing that we have not seen in this case, and that is the panic, anxiety, advocacy from the mother of Summer Wells to find her daughter.
I absolutely agree with Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would. My child went to my neighbor's house and was gone for like 5 minutes, and I was having a nervous breakdown. I mean, it's not normal reaction of a mom, in my opinion, in no way, shape, or form, who has a missing child.
Nope. And that's always been something that, and I know that not everyone's the same, not everybody's wired the same, but we all have a same basic emotion for our children when you can't find them. I think the problem with Candace is she hasn't been able to even fake it, because it's not a finding process. I believe she knows.
Yeah, and we saw her. I mean, we saw her cry on previous interviews. So, I mean, we know she has it in her to show emotion.
But that's always, have you noticed that's always been for herself?
And sometimes the boys.
Sometimes the boys. She has mustered up some tears for them. She has.
Not Summer.
Nope.
That I saw.
Even when as far as to say, don't talk, if you bring Summer up, you're kicked out of this chat. I could not believe that. I was madder than a hornet when I heard that.
Oh, and what mother would be okay with that? I mean, what kind of mom would be okay? I would be like, what's the point of me being here? This is for my daughter, period.
Well, you would think that you would only be talking about Summer. You would only be talking about Summer.
Exactly.
Saffron Rice said, of all the things, the only reason I don't believe in a random abduction is why on God's green earth, if you, Candace, or Dawn, or Grandis thought Summer was taken from the property, would you send the boys down to the creek willy-nilly to go and search when there could be a prowler on the premises? Why leave your baby boys alone all damn day? I have more questions than any of us have answers, and I do too. That to me has never made any sense. Your first reaction is she's been abducted, and we've heard that from all three of them, Candace, Grandis, and Dawn. So you've got a predator nearby, and you send the boys down to the creek to look for Summer. Now, obviously, the abductor would only have 2 arms, but doesn't it still seem like a very dangerous situation to put them in that?
And she tried to make up for it by saying she had eyes on them. She's going to be able to get down there that quick to do something if somebody did try to grab one of the boys.
Yeah.
I would keep my kids like glued to me if I truly thought someone had abducted one of my children, they would be glued to my side.
If I honestly thought somebody broke in my house,
yep,
or lured my child out, we would be hunkered down, doors locked until the police got there. At least my children would be somewhere safe. Eyes on them.
You would have eyes and be able to reach out and grab them. Like they would not be out of your sight or far away where you would not be able to grab them.
No way. No way. Robin's Egg said, in my opinion, the boys were sent to the creek so they wouldn't see. I 100% agree with this. I 100% agree. They were sent down to the creek. They were told Summer's missing, so they didn't turn around to look back up. That's when Summer went missing. I totally agree with that. That's just my theory. Doesn't mean that I have anything to prove it. It's just my thought. Gabby's mom, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. So it's just insane. It is just insane. Why do you think they sent him to the creek? Of course, it's just your opinion.
I thought it may have been for the same thing. They were trying to keep them from seeing or hearing something that was going on the hill. And that's why they sent him down there.
I think it was to keep them preoccupied while something else is going on. It just makes sense to me. Not going to surprise me if I'm wrong because, well, this whole case is wrong. Angela said, I think what bugs me the most is not just the timeline, but the details. Did Candace change and wash tracksuit, swimsuit as soon as they got home? Did Ellie take them? Also, did they check everything that day, shopping, etc.? The devil will be in the details, I'm sure of it. I believe that too. I also believe that they have probably turned as much stuff upside down as they possibly can. What will blow it open is if they find Summer. She deserves to be found.
Absolutely. And I always wondered about that tracksuit because I took it as Summer was in that milk jug photo. She went missing, and that same thing minus the sweat jacket. So where is that jacket?
And I'd love to know where her clothes are. And I would also love to know what she was wearing when she disappeared, because we don't even know what she was really wearing.
Yeah.
Candace was sketchy on those details. She's really only stuck with two things: that she was barefoot and that the boys went to the creek. That's really the only consistency we have. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, and it seems awfully hot for a tracksuit in June here. Especially when the humidity's bad. It seems, I mean, I know kids are kind of cold after swimming, but that just still seems it's hot here.
But according to Candace, it was blazing hot. That's why they went to cool off. They didn't want to sit there for 20, 30 minutes waiting on the prescription. But how was Summer cold if it was blazing hot?
The tracksuit, that's what I'm saying. It's so hot here. Why, even after swimming, I don't know anybody that would put a tracksuit on.
No. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Mm-mm.
I mean, especially if that was supposed to be for the first day of school or a school outfit. You know what I mean? Crime Bee says, I think the fact that there is still issues with the timeline points to the parents. After a year, I'm hoping the police are keeping a lot to themselves. Prayers for Summer. I hope they're keeping a lot to themselves too. Obviously they are. And when we heard the TBI update last week, I don't remember his name. When we get to it, I'll remember it. They still can't figure out the timeline. That's a problem. The only one that can solve that for them would be Candace, and she's not going to. As Lawson said, no, they're not cooperating.
Well, Don even admitted that they told him the timeline wasn't working. Y'all need to work on that timeline.
Yep. And he slipped. I think he was on Cher's channel.
I think so.
And he said that the TBI told him to keep talking to her to fill in the gaps in the timeline.
Yeah. And the truth doesn't need to be filled in my opinion.
No. And Grandis could help with the timeline, but we heard her on WJHL. She washes her hands of the whole day. I think they went swimming.
Believes they may have been at the swimming hole near the horse stable. She believes that's where they went. If she was with them, she should know where she was.
Yeah, she was back in the truck. Obviously, they talked about what they'd been doing. She could fill in a lot of this. She never gives a specific time. We got home around 3. Then she says she took a nap. Then she mentions those damn cactus. And that's the last I seen her. And she just shakes her head and she just shrugs her shoulders as if, get off my back. That's the last I seen her.
Yeah.
So As a local, you do not have to answer this if you don't want to. How do you feel Hawkins County has handled this investigation?
Um,
And like I say, if you don't want to answer, I get it.
I have no problems with Hawkins County, the sheriff's department.
Okay.
I think I was actually kind of surprised at the response time and all the different agencies that they did get up there and how they made, set up the command center and everything when Summer first went missing. I mean, the next day they had everything set up and the community was already, they were ready to take them snacks, drinks, whatever they needed. It's not, obviously, it's not moving along as fast as, I would like. But I mean, I also want them to make sure that they have everything they need for a solid conviction and to get justice.
It still blows my mind that in the first 2-3 days, they couldn't find her. That was such an extensive search. I thought over the weekend they're going to find her. I remember, I think I said it on the show. I was like, I'm sure over the weekend they're going to find her. They have to. She's got to be around there somewhere. I never believed the abduction theory.
That's what I thought at first, because it's like she did not get abducted from Beach Creek. And after I saw like where they lived I was like, there's no way she got abducted from Beach Creek.
That's what so many people that live there have said to me verbatim. There's no way she was abducted from the Beach Creek community.
Well, there's
One,
no
they
way
said that the people are known for protecting their homes diligently. It's
no
not
way
a
nobody
heavily
saw
trafficked area. Sorry, go ahead.
I said, no way nobody saw it. There's no way that if it did happen, somebody would see something. These communities are like tight knit communities. They keep an eye out for their neighbors. If they see a suspicious car or somebody they don't know, they're immediately on alert.
Mm-hmm. A car they don't recognize, et cetera, et cetera.
And even if they recognize it,
yeah.
We can be kind of nosy too.
I mean, trust me, I've lived in a rural community before, and it's like, I've never seen that car before, or whose truck is that?
Yeah.
I noticed that stuff. Or, oh, there's such and such going home. So, yeah, you do, because there's not a lot going on in those areas.
I really don't see how that would be possible.
No. So let's get to the TBI update. You ready?
Yes.
All right, first I'm just going to play a small clip from Ansley. I think she's awesome at WJHL. Then we're going to go through the whole interview, the whole update, the whole press conference, and pause it where things stick out to us.
Josh and Sarah, today's press conference here at the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office in Rogersville wasn't much different than the ones held in Beach Creek this time last year. No new information was given today, and law enforcement told us again that there was no concrete evidence that Summer walked off from her home, nor that she was abducted. A year, 3 intense searches, and hundreds of hours of investigative work later, authorities assured that this case.
Well, where does that leave us? There's no concrete evidence that she was abducted or walked away. The word is, concrete. That leaves us with foul play. In December, Leslie said either walked away or foul play. There's no concrete evidence that she just walked off. She wandered off.
Is far from cold.
I can promise you that we will continue to conduct target searches in the Beach Creek area as new information is developed. We'll also continue to follow up on any legitimate leads.
That promise and hope is the foundation for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children since it was founded back in 1984. We spoke with the nonprofit about Summer's case, and they told us while 1 year in a missing child's case is hard to comprehend, they believe that Summer will still be found safe unless it's indicated otherwise by law enforcement.
We've assisted law enforcement with nearly 400,000 missing child cases. And if you go back and you take a look at each and every one of those, not one of them is just exactly like the other. Each one has its own twists and its own information that needs to be looked at individually. And that's a tough road for law enforcement.
Authorities also said again today that this case is outside of the norm for them. They said usually they have an answer or at least some sort of indication of what has happened to that child within a few days of her or him being reported missing. But still, a year later, there are no new leads and no answers as to where Summer Wells could be tonight. Live in Rogersville, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Okay, so of course that was tough to hear, that we have no new information. We're basically stuck where we were a year ago. You even heard Lawson's frustration. I kind of wonder about how the relationship with Hawkins County and TBI is, because he looks frustrated and frankly pissed off in some of his interviews when he's like, I didn't think we'd be here a year later.
Yeah, he didn't seem like in his previous interviews. I didn't think in that interview he seemed seemed off. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad way, just like you said, maybe frustration or I don't know.
I would be frustrated too. For one, you're the sheriff of a small county. You make arrests all the time. TBI has a very great record. And this you're stumped on. You've got people that won't even help you fill in what went on that afternoon, probably for a good reason. If she just wandered off, then why the hell can you not fill in the afternoon and what you were doing that day?
Yeah, the people that could help him out the most with the timeline refuses to do so.
If she was abducted, why can't you fill in the gaps that they're asking you for? Come on, you are not brain dead. You know what you did that day. Hello, Happy August. Thank you for the super sticker. Let's bring Shannon up too. I think she's muted because she's been through this video several times too. And wherever you guys chat, panel, whatever, wherever something sticks out at you that you want to discuss, tell me and I'll pause it. Hello, Shannon.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, girlfriend.
Am I loud and clear?
This video.
I'm sorry, say that again.
How many times have you watched this video? I know you said you've been really, really going through it.
Oh, it was 6, so it's probably 10 by now.
We'll just round it up.
So it's a lot.
Just round it up for you, girlfriend.
Yep.
All right. What really stuck out to me is, again, Leslie has used the same phrase for a year. This is outside the norm. There's no concrete evidence she wandered off. There's no concrete evidence she was abducted. Now, we do know that the FBI card unit said there's no signs of an abduction. I'm going to go with their theory. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. So it leaves us with foul play. I just don't understand the wandered off, because she would be somewhere. And it's not like you had a Boy Scout troop out there yelling her name trying to find her. You had at one point 40 different agencies.
And they had over 100.
Oh, they were on top of that big time. Yeah.
Yeah, there was tons of people out there. I couldn't believe how fast they got people out there.
That's one of the things I was impressed with when the news first came out about Summer, was how quickly they did have people up there searching for her.
And I think a lot of people's frustration is they treated it as if she's in a rural community, kids wander off, they get lost, as opposed to treating it like foul play from the get-go. But we don't know that. I'm pretty positive that when they got there and talked to Candace, if she wasn't busy trying on hats at the time and Snapchatting Allie, they would have realized that the story was already changing. Because we know on the 911 call, the dispatcher said the mom took a walk and came back 10 minutes later and she was gone. Then we hear the planting flowers story. We've also heard that she was doing dishes with her back turned. That one blew my mind. And Summer just walked out the back door because, Candace has eyes in the back of her head. We've heard the laundry story, but the one that they've stuck with since, I'd say, the 18th of June, when Dawn talked to Rogersville Review, is the planting flowers and walked her to the porch. But then we heard she watched her walk over. So what is it?
It's none of the above. She did not watch a child walk anywhere on that property. And I believe she lured the boys down to go find Summer, in quotes. And she took her truck and said, I'm going to go look. And we don't know how long she was gone and what she did. And came back.
Sorry.
Maybe called Dawn. I can't find Summer.
Yeah, exactly. What were you going to say, Truth Quest?
She's trying really hard to portray herself as the complete opposite of a neglectful mother. I personally wouldn't, if I lived on that hill, I would not walk my daughter to the door on my own property. Like, when we're outside, she wants to go in, I don't have to walk her to the door. I mean,
no, she's going in her own house. She knows how to walk.
Exactly.
She's not 8 months old, just learning how to walk. That's crazy.
That's like 10 steps. Yeah.
No, she didn't need to walk her over. And of course she forgot that lie because, you need an Excel spreadsheet to keep up with all of them. And so, of course, she changes that later. That's crazy. All right, so here I'm going to start this interview. I think I have the closed captions on. When you guys catch something, we're going to pause it and discuss it, okay? Chat, let me know.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Leslie Earhart, a public information officer for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Before we get started, I want to stress that the investigation into the disappearance of Summer Wells is very much active and ongoing. Please understand, in order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, we simply can't speak to specifics. We appreciate you being here today and your continuing coverage of this case. At approximately 6:30 p.m. on this day, 1 year ago, Summer Wells, who was 5 years old at the time, was reported missing from her bin in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County. When we held the first media briefing on June 16th, honestly, we expected to have good news to report by the time the next media briefing came around.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there because they did seem very confident. TBI has a good record finding missing children. You see it all the time. I started following them with the Evelyn Boswell case, and I see stuff in my news feed on Twitter, Amber Alert, endangered missing. And then before you even get a chance to do a show about it or share it, it'll like be edited, found safe, found safe, found safe. So I'm sure that they are beyond perplexed that they can't find her. Especially if she wandered off. We just had Elijah not too long ago. He wandered off and they found him like in 11 hours. Same type of terrain.
Yeah, and she also said too, again, we cannot speak to specifics in this case, meaning you're not getting anything else out of us but what we need to give you. And that does not mean we're not working our butts off on this case every single day.
I think they want it done so fast. Of course, they want to find Summer, but they want a resolution faster than anything. I really do.
Right. Right.
I don't believe for a minute that they don't want it solved. What do you think, Truth Quest?
I think they very much want it solved.
Mm-mm-mm.
And I think even some of them feel like we do, you know. I mean, we're frustrated and upset. And could you imagine being law enforcement working the case and, you know, it's their responsibility to find the answers? That would have to be beyond frustrating.
Well, especially when a year later they need more information on the timeline. So Hunter was with them that day, dropped off at 2:30. So I'm assuming that he can fill in the morning pretty good for him. But when they dropped him off between Candace and Grandis, you know, Sleeping Beauty, they can't tell him what went on in the afternoon. Now, I can't tell you what I do every minute of the day, but I can give you a pretty damn good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Unfortunately, instead, day after day ended in frustration and disappointment. At that time, no one expected that we would still be searching for Summer 1 year later. We've said from the beginning.
Tonight, your body clock is 3 time zones ahead, so you're up early.
This case is outside the norm. There are few clues as to what happened to Summer, despite investigators doing everything within their power to find answers. All possible.
Okay, that really kind of turned my stomach. No offense to Leslie, but she's telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
There are few clues as to what really happened to her that day. Let's talk about that.
And they want to clear the circle, those people involved in the circle. Ellie wants to be able to knock people out of that circle when they're investigating, to, you know. And have they been able to like fully clear anyone?
No. And it's so strange because in most cases they don't name a suspect at all. They wait. They might be a person of interest, somebody they want to talk to, but they're really not a suspect till they get charged, you know?
Yeah.
And this is the only case I've ever seen, ever, where the sheriff says everybody's still a suspect. Well, hell, can you narrow it down? I mean, I would love a list of who they're suspecting. It's just everyone.
And they haven't came out and said they've been able to clear anybody that we would think might be on their radar.
Yep. Lex Luthor put it in a nutshell for us. Few clues, meaning they aren't getting shit from the parents or grandma. They haven't had any credible leads. Nope. Nobody else was around that day. I do not believe there was anybody else on that hill except for Candace, Grandis, and the boys. Maybe Don
I
was
agree,
there.
and that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Yeah. I think he came earlier, maybe, and maybe dropped one of the boys off. If he's not involved, he definitely knows what happened. And there's quite a few hours where she could have been put anywhere.
Yeah. You're probably looking at about 4 hours unaccounted.
Anywhere.
And my thing is, between
Right.
two adults that were with Summer, that we know for sure were with Summer, Grandis and Candace, they've got to have more information to fill in that afternoon. They've got to.
They do. They definitely do. And I think that's where law enforcement is frustrated, is they won't speak, and or the story keeps changing, or you add these unnecessary little details that we don't give two F's about because it didn't freaking happen.
Uh-huh. You know, and not to mention, why would they never even consider she could have just wandered off? All three were adamant. No, she would never do that. She would never do that. She was abducted. She was abducted. She was abducted. Of course, they're never going to point the finger at themselves that they could have had something to do with her disappearance. But it always struck me as strange that they would never entertain the idea that Summer, being a curious child like all children are, wandered away from her property.
They couldn't. That wasn't their narrative.
Because they had to make,
their story had to make sense, and for it to make sense, it had to be an abduction.
Mhm.
Right. Because
they knew what they did. Yes.
And if she wandered off, they would search, and
Yep.
very likely they would have found her.
It's got to be somebody besides them. So you're looking for an imaginary person, really. And it doesn't seem like any law enforcement, FBI card unit, TBI, or Hawkins County is looking for a stranger, because they're looking in that area. Sarah said even 1 hour, you can do just about anything. 3 to 4 hours is bothersome. I agree. East Coast Mama, where you been, girlfriend? That's just too much of a gap of time that you can't remember anything. And I promise, without even knowing, obviously I wasn't there, I bet they've had a lot of convoluted explanations as to what went on in that time, which is even more frustrating. It would be to anybody. I'd be beating my head against the door.
Abilities are still being explored. Many of you have asked for details about what's been done over the last year. I can tell you agents and detectives have spent thousands of hours on this case. Numerous search warrants have been executed. Cell phone data has been analyzed, and any other available digital evidence has been collected, searched, and documented. This includes the social media accounts of those associated with Summer. 3 large ground.
Okay, the social media accounts of those associated with Summer. That I really liked hearing out loud. It's been speculated for the last year. I hope they're looking at this. I wonder if they saw them on YouTube. I wonder this. They are. Because very early on, Candace was actually arguing with people about what happened and had already changed her story.
Yep. And if she's online giving different stories, that's more evidence that they have to sit there and watch and collect. And I know I don't want to jump ahead or anything, but it's frustrating that these people know that they're making this case harder. Why? Why don't they want this little girl found?
Well, I got a theory on that, but also she says thousands of hours. There wouldn't be much investigation if she wandered off. You would continue search efforts to find her.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on what she said, Truth Quest, about how they've been monitoring the social media accounts of those involved? Now, remember, they weren't specific. Don, Candace, and Grandis. Those involved. That could be Allie, Leslie, anybody who has been on any form of social media talking about Summer Wells. So I don't think it's just those 3 they've monitored.
Well, when Summer's case first came out, I remember on the actual TBI Facebook page that there was comments being made supposedly from a cousin that she was fixing cereal, and that Candace was fixing cereal when Summer went missing. So,
are you serious? I never heard that one.
Yeah, and then it was at first it was she was fixing dinner, and then it changed to she was making a bowl of cereal. If you go, I don't know if you can go back that far.
You know what? I think I do remember that now, because I think we talked about it on the show, because we were going through a list of all the different stories we've heard. And it's just like, I even wondered early on if Candace was home at all. If she didn't drop everybody off and go back to town for something, Grandis is taking a nap, and then they couldn't find Summer. That would make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't see how the dispatch could get going
Yeah.
for a walk got wrong.
Nope, the dispatch basically just reported back to the people they dispatched out what they had been told. She went on a walk, and 10 minutes later, Summer was gone. And then you hear Candace say, "Oh, I don't walk around here, because of all the, because of the wild kingdom they got going on there. Bears, snakes."
Well, you know where I think the reason why this hasn't been solved yet is because, unfortunately, Candace, I'm just going to say Candace as for right now, has gotten very lucky at all the dead zone cell towers out there. And there's a lot of missing pings from law enforcement, I guarantee, and time frames. And that's the only reason I believe she hasn't been found yet.
And that makes sense. Because, everywhere we go, we take our cell phone with us. And between
Right.
Google and just the ping of the, the towers, it tracks where you're at. It freaked me out one day. We were leaving some restaurant, and Google reminded me that I had been to that restaurant and asked if I wanted to leave a review. Freaked me out.
Yep. That happens to me all the time. Yep. And some lady drove to that address, and she lost service for a long time in that area, within, I don't know, 5 to 10 miles, maybe more.
I think it was Jose.
That's just my opinion.
No, it makes sense. And I think it was Jose that said that there was no service on the hill. Now, they got Wi-Fi in March, okay? She posted that on her Facebook,
Right.
March of 2021. Now, when Jose was there, that whole debacle, he said like their phones would instantly start ding, 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 ding when they got somewhere near the dollar store. But up on the hill, everything was non-existent as far as signal. Do you know, Truth Quest, exactly like where the dead zones would be? I know you don't live in that area.
Where I'm at, I don't have that big of a problem with the dead zones, but I know like where they're at Beach Creek and in some other areas, like back in the Goshen Valley area, they are dead spots. And because I was for sure that when they got the information back from, the pings, the phone data, that we would have more answers. And what Shannon says makes sense, that they're very good. There's a good possibility they are missing pings from her phones in that area.
It makes sense to me because normally when they get cell phone data back, things move very fast.
Yeah,
Start
that's
moving.
what I was hoping for.
I just think it's not like they're these hardened, smart criminals. Now, Dawn's got some street smarts. Candace has manipulation tactics and stuff like that. But as far as, taking a child somewhere up in that area, and believe me, there is so much terrain that you wouldn't have to walk off too far. And like I said, be in a dead zone. And I think that's the only way they got lucky, because they smile like Cheshire cats as if, nope, they ain't going to find them there. They're not going to find her anywhere. And from the beginning, it was. Summer was this, Summer was that. They know.
And some of the scenarios Dawn has laid out for us, as a parent, how can you even begin to think that, let alone say that out loud?
That's always bothered me. The past tense used very early on really, really bugged me. And it reminded me of the Gannon Staunch case where Letitia talked about him in past tense, and later on it was revealed that that upset the DA to no end. He knew that she was involved somehow before they got all the evidence collected. Just that past tense statement.
That's a big deal.
Huge deal.
Added
And
with the other stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, Shannon.
No, go ahead, Truth Quest. We
No,
have a little
I'm
bit
sorry.
Trying to catch themselves with the using past tense. Like Don even came out and said, you know, he caught himself on that interview and said that. So evidently they've been reading stuff on social media the whole time. Because he was talking about how everybody was pointing out how they were always referred to Summer in the past tense, and he even brought it up in an interview. Because he caught himself doing it.
He's like, people get so mad we talk.
Yep, and he's Yep.
Crazy.
Searches have taken place in the last year with the assistance of more than 100 local, state, and federal agencies. Those searches do not account for the numerous targeted searches done by agents and detectives as they were following up on potential leads. From TBI alone, more than 100 agents, intelligence analysts, and support staff from across the state have been involved in this case. TBI agents working alongside the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have conducted nearly 170 interviews during the investigation.
Okay, I about lost my lunch when I heard that. 170 interviews. Now, it was said to me that doesn't mean that it's 170 different people. Out of all of that, nobody is forthcoming enough to fill in the damn timeline or give us some inkling as to what these people are capable of. You know?
That just makes me go back to Candace. She's not gonna open her mouth and confess to anything. And if she knows, and let's say Grandis knows, they're not gonna open their mouth. They're just not going to. And I think that's why this case, along with the pings and the dead zones, is frustrated and not moved forward, is because of that.
Yeah. What do you think, Truth Quest? 170 interviews. It'd be nice if all 170 were Candace.
Yeah, and the reason why they may not be getting more information is because the people they're interviewing won't give them the information they need. They know what happened on the Hill, in my opinion. And everybody's like, the Beach Creek as the community, you know, they have each other's back and stuff. And I would agree with that to an extent, but I mean, they have to, I would think your neighbors would need to like you. And has anybody came out to speak up for the Wells that's actually their neighbor? That would cover up something this?
No, but they've inserted themselves and put all kinds of things out there. And that's been really bad.
I agree.
And I think that's done on purpose.
That has got a lot of frustration.
Right.
It does not count the hundreds of phone calls made to follow up on tips reported to law enforcement. While investigators have been diligently working to find answers, they've had to deal with thousands of tips generated by false information that in some cases has been intentionally spread across social media platforms.
Okay, my question about this, and it happens not just in this case, but in many, many, many other cases. Delphi is an example where people are spreading misinformation, and she said intentional. I would love to see some charges handed down finally for people that purposely take law enforcement off track. whether it's because they want to be involved because they don't have a damn life, because they think it's funny, or because they it's entertainment to them. It's high time for that to happen.
Absolutely. I believe the law needs to really, really catch up to technology on things like this.
Mm-hmm. Social media is not going away. It only gets bigger. It becomes a bigger monster every day. And so when you're having a chat in a group, a Discord, a Twitter, or whatever, and you report an opinion to them, you're stopping the process. And that's in any case. I know they had a lot of problems with social media in the Evelyn Boswell case. They had a lot of crackpots calling during the Gannon Staunch case, Kyron Horman, Delphi. I mean, it's insane. What are your thoughts on that, Tennessee?
You've got those, calling in tips, but then you also have those actively spreading misinformation and just straight up lies. I mean, actively spreading it around, and that does nothing to help.
No, not at all. Particularly when something is just made up, a made up story, and it starts to circulate and it gains momentum to the point that everyone is so upset about the story, they forget to ask, where did this come from? Who reported this? Was this in a press conference? Where did this originate from?
Right.
By that time, it's exploded into craziness.
It kind of goes with that. If they hear it enough times, they believe it. And then sometimes I wonder if they even care where it come from.
No, because everybody is hungry for information and answers. So instead of, this did not come from law enforcement, this was not reported by, one of the local news stations, it's like, we've got information. And so we're going to let them know. And then it creates a problem. And it's, for most people, it's well-meaning. It really, really is. It's really well-meaning. They want to help and they're concerned. But some people, that's not what they're doing.
And that's not their motivation.
No, it's not. It's to cause havoc. And it's for their own entertainment. And it's sick.
We know that this case has attracted the attention of individuals across the country who genuinely care about summer and want nothing more but to help us find answers. We appreciate those people. However, we are also aware that there are some people using this case for their own personal gain by spreading false information on social media posted as facts. Some go as far as to solicit donations. This has had a major impact on the investigation and not in a good way. Moving forward, we ask the public not to submit tips as a result of a video they viewed on YouTube or a theory they've seen posted on Facebook. Please help us and only call if you have direct, specific information about the disappearance of Summer. This investigation weighs heavily on us all, and I can...
Okay, that. Purposely spreading false information, collecting donations, basically saying to help in the Summer Wells case, but if it gets where it's supposed to go, I don't know about that side of it. I am not going to be surprised if some people don't get in trouble, honestly.
I'm not either. I would not be surprised at all.
Because she seems, she's bringing it up and she's upset. Now, they can't do anything about someone calling and saying, hey, I was listening to this creator and they think Summer is blah, blah, blah. They can't really do anything about that. It's just like, don't tell us that stuff. She's basically saying, do not tell us any more stuff you've heard on the internet. Now, if it comes straight from Candace, that we want to hear. If Grandis is talking to people, obviously that would be something credible. But they said they're monitoring all of the social media accounts.
And they've said that from the beginning. She just detailed, a little bit more detail this time, but they've always talked about the issue with the social media calling in tips they see that's just somebody's personal theory or opinion. She just went into more detail, I think, this time, and then brought up the donations.
Right. And I just thought that it was just pretty poignant the way she said it. It's when she said it's hurting the it's affected this investigation and not in a good way.
I promise you that no one wants answers more than we do, and we are not going to stop until we find them. I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson.
Good morning. As Leslie mentioned, we didn't expect this case to be going on a year later. It's heartbreaking to me and my officers and the entire community. We've never stopped looking for Summer. We'll continue to do so. There's never been a case in the history of Hawkins County Sheriff's Office that had officers working 365 days and had so many hours spent as we had in this investigation. Also, this office has never utilized so many different local, state, and federal agencies from across the state. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation assists us in every step of this investigation.
Okay, I'm glad he has said that, just to clear the air. They've basically walked hand in hand with them, is what he's saying. They've assisted us in every step of this investigation. So we have 3 agencies that a year later, as she's saying, and he's reaffirming, have no more information than they had a year ago.
Now, and it's not just Hawkins County. This is the TBI and FBI. And like you were saying earlier, they'll put up an Amber Alert, and within that same day or the next day, they'll have it resolved. Their record is pretty good, I think. The TBI.
They've got a really good record. They've got a really great success rate in arrests. Hawkins County arrests people all the time too. Yeah. And I'm just glad that he clarified it. They've assisted us every step of the way. So it's not like they're like, you're on your own and we'll catch you at the next press conference, or let us know if you need any help. He's saying the 3 of them have worked together for the last year. That actually made me feel somewhat better.
It does.
As you heard Leslie say, 1,000 hours have been invested in finding Summer, thousands of them. 170 interviews have been done. Many of these individuals have spoken to more than one time. While we haven't said a lot about the details about the investigative actions that's taken place, please know that we've never stopped. I deeply appreciate the many rescue squads, the EMAs, and the volunteer fire department for their help. And the support from the citizens and the communities of this county is just unbelievable and overwhelming, with the encouragement we get with the food during the searches we've done, and all the law enforcement officers, agencies throughout the state of Tennessee. It's just been phenomenal how everybody pitched in and helped us with these searches and with this investigation. And many of you have asked why that we didn't recruit private citizens to assist in these searches. The extreme dangerous terrain that we were experiencing in searches, we were able to monitor each group and movement and their location. That way we knew that everybody came back to the command post safely. After the initial searches, then we had to go back and obtain the landowner's permission to search again. We could not allow or even grant permission for private individuals on these people's property.
I got to hear that again. Hang on.
Just With the extreme dangerous terrain that we were experiencing in searches, we were able to monitor each group and movement and their location. That way we knew that everybody came back to the command post safely. After initial searches, then we had to go back and obtain the landowner's permission to search again. We could not allow or even grant permission for private individuals on these people's property.
Hang on. Is he saying, okay, the landowner, is he saying the landowner as in Don and Candace?
If he's saying the neighbors, he couldn't get permission from the neighbors for private individuals to search the property.
That's what it sounds like to me. Am I hearing this wrong? Or is it Don and Candace? Because he said the landowners. He's not specific. He's not saying neighbors' properties. He's saying the landowners. I'm going to listen to it again.
Then we had to go back and obtain the landowner's permission to search again. We could not allow or even grant permission for private individuals on these people's property.
Okay, so what he's saying is, okay, they couldn't allow the general public to go combing around private individuals' property. I think that's what he's trying to say. And I'm with just roll with it. I think he's referring to more than one property. Just me thinks it's neighbors too. Did you hear the same thing I heard?
Yeah, I think maybe he's talking to just the neighbor's property, the permission in general, like from the neighbors. I don't know. And then unless the Wells, like they would maybe have to state to him they didn't want any like besides LE on their property. I don't know. I think it's probably the neighbors. Like
just the way he phrased the landowner.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's Don and Candace for some reason, but.
And while I can promise you that we will continue to conduct target searches in the Beach Creek area as new information is developed.
Now, I wonder where the target searches are going to be, and obviously he's not going to give us a date. Gemini 360 said he's given you some hints.
Is he saying as it new information comes in, they're going to search
targeted searches
area?
Yeah, he's saying targeted searches as new information comes in.
So he's pretty confident if any information comes in, it's going to lead to the Beach Creek area.
Yeah, and Detective Pruitt said the same thing. She's somewhere around there, is what he said. She's somewhere around there. It's really odd that he wasn't part of this press conference.
We'll also continue to follow up on any legitimate leads. And it's been the goal of this team since day one to find Summer. We've never stopped. We've never slowed down. We deal with it every day. And that's the whole purpose of this, to let you all know, despite what you hear, what you see, we haven't stopped. The men and women of these agencies have worked tireless, hours and hours and hours. And I commend every one of them for the job they've done. And we're going to continue till we find Summer.
And you know who hasn't worked tirelessly? I can't say that word. You know who hasn't worked tirelessly? Dawn, Candace, and Grandis. I know between those two women, they can fill in the afternoon. Even if Grandis went and took a 3-hour nap, at some point she talked to her daughter and said, well, what were you doing when I was sleeping? We know Candace knows what she was doing that afternoon.
No, she was able to tell us which store she went to in what order, but she can't tell us anything about after she got home.
Nothing. Of course, she says, when you're trying to have fun, you lose track of time, or whatever she was saying, which was a creepy, weird thing to say. It's basically the afternoon is one huge gap after they drop off Hunter. And like I said, I mean, I know what time it is right now. It's 10:15 a.m. Everybody's got some sort of device somewhere around them. People check their phones all the time. You've got a pretty good idea of what time of day it is, you know, but not her. Not her. According to her, she took a walk, and 10 minutes later, Summer was gone. Then it was they were planting flowers. She walked her over, which then later she didn't walk her over. And 2 minutes later, she was just gone. So she's got 10 minutes and 2 minutes. And she told Allie that she searched the dungeon for 20 minutes. So she gets that concept of time, but everything else, And by the way, I don't think any of that happened.
Yeah, your first instinct going downstairs, the first place you look for your child, is it going to induce that panic like she describes? Like the very first place you look, she made it sound like she immediately panicked. I mean, I would be getting uneasy, but I don't think I would be at that panic mode in the first place that I've looked.
Right. It would not surprise me if she purposely sent her down to the dungeon and told her to go down there and play. Not that Summer wanted to go, because it was that she wanted to go play with her brothers. Her brothers weren't in the dungeon. They were upstairs. So she wanted to go down into that damp, moldy, dingy dungeon by herself.
But she looked outside and wanted to go down there?
Yeah. Yet she loved to be outside. So, but that day, which everything's odd about that day anyway, she goes down to the dungeon by herself. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody was outside that door. And when she started yelling for Summer, that was their cue to go in that door and get her. We saw Don's reenactment of going up and down that dog trail that he didn't know exist. Just a possibility.
I thought about that. Her yelling for Summer could be like a signal.
But now when she was talking to Chris McDonough, she said she went in. What prompted her to look for Summer? If Summer's in her house playing, what prompted her to look for her? So she goes in, helicopter mom. She starts yelling for Summer. She's at the top of the stairs. Summer, Summer. Again, why would Summer be in the dungeon playing by herself when she wanted to play with her brothers? The brothers weren't down there. Then the brothers get sent out to the creek. Heads turned, look at, go down to the creek and try to find her. Yet she doesn't wander off, remember? She doesn't wander off. They have been 100% about that. She would never wander off. Then why would you send the boys out into the property to look for their sister who would never wander off?
Wasn't they someone riding a bicycle with the GoPro that actually saw the boys down at the creek?
Oh, I didn't know about that.
In the very beginning, it was on one of the local news Facebook page. I guess it was this lady's boyfriend. Supposedly he was on a bike riding back there and had a GoPro, and he got video of the boys, while they were at the creek.
I have never heard that. Where was that reported?
It was in the comments on one of the local news stations.
Well, I hope they found Mr. GoPro and they know that the boys were down at the creek.
She said she turned the video in.
Oh, good.
I'm just wondering how accurate that was, because I've never really heard anybody else talk about it much after that.
It might not have happened. It might have been somebody in the comments that just wanted some attention.
Yeah.
Because that would be huge news. And why would somebody be taking a bicycle trip down Ben Hill Road? And how would they see through all those woods to see the boys at the creek?
I think they were on Beach Creek. Riding on Beach Creek, I think.
Well, then how would they see the boys on their property on Ben Hill Road?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm going to have to, that's been a year ago, so it'd be hard to try to go back and find that. But it's something about he had a GoPro riding his bike and saw the boys at the creek or in that area somewhere down there.
Pink Phoenix said he saw them on a bridge. I've never heard this before. Hopefully that has been turned over and that it actually exists.
I remember hearing.
It doesn't really help find Summer. We know the boys were at the creek or on a bridge. Doesn't help Summer. So, but still. That is nuts. Fed Up said, yes, there was a cyclist with a GoPro. Very odd he hasn't been on any YouTube channels or anything. Maybe he's smarter than the rest of them.
Yeah, he probably definitely smart and knows. He's probably saw how that goes.
Man.
Your work-life balance? It's non-existent. You're never not working. You need to hire.
Now, as I mentioned, we can't speak to specifics, but we will take a few questions.
A few months ago, you guys said that the parents were not cooperating anymore. Has there been any changes in that, especially as Don Wells is incarcerated here in this facility?
We're not going to characterize cooperation at this time. Honestly,
Whoa, we're not going to characterize cooperation at this time. I totally missed that, even with all the times I've rewatched this. So are they cooperating or not?
That's what I was talking about earlier. Everybody's was saying they felt like Leslie Earhart disproved she was kind of upset with Lawson when he came out and said they wasn't cooperating. But I mean, Dawn's in jail. Maybe she's looking at it from a different perspective. Maybe she don't want them to know whether they're talking or not talking.
I think she answered the question perfectly. Jackie Blue, I smell what you're stepping in. If they were cooperative, they would have said that. So they're not. She says, we're not going to characterize cooperation at this time, honestly. A yes is a yes. We have ways to deflect answers, but a yes is a firm yes. Yeah, they're cooperating. Yeah, they're cooperating now or something. She's not going to say they are. That tells me a lot.
She did in the beginning too. She would say they were.
She didn't say it in
press
this.
conferences.
She didn't say it in this. She said, we're not going to characterize cooperation at this time, honestly. But a year ago, they said, yeah, they're cooperating. Cooperating, feeding them bullshit, sending them on a wild goose chase, saying a phantom abductor got up on their property. Wow, that speaks volumes. What do you think? Am I looking too much into it?
No, I think she's, around about, she's not going to say yes or no. And I guess as an investigator, I would want the suspects to wonder whether one of them's talking or not too. Like, I wouldn't want to know for sure if they were cooperating or not. Like, Don's in jail. He can't. I would want her to have that in the back of her mind. What if he is talking?
Oh, well, that's true too. Can't really say anything because, maybe Don is telling him something. Who knows with Don? Don loves to be the all-knowing, which he hasn't really helped anything at all. He's made it a bigger mess. And I'd be knocking on his cell every day.
Yeah, he's been in. If he ain't talked by now, I don't.
So we're not going to characterize cooperation at this time, honestly. Sounds like a no to me. Sounds like a no to me, because she could have easily been like, yes, they've been cooperative, and moved to the next question. Now, of course, it would have caused an eruption because Lawson told us March 1st, no, they're not cooperating.
doing so does nothing but create more speculation, and it doesn't benefit the investigation. But thank you for that.
Okay, because she said it creates more speculation, doesn't benefit the investigation. Well, that speculation's been going on since I'd say June 16th of 2021. It didn't surprise anybody for Lawson to say, no, they're not cooperating. It shocked us that he admitted it. But she could easily just say, yes, they're cooperating. That would end your speculation for some people, right? But she can't say that. She can't say that.
But she said it before, so we know. I mean, if they are, she has no problem coming out and saying, yeah, they're cooperating.
Exactly. They said a year ago during their early press conferences, yeah, they're cooperating. Now, one time Lawson was shaking his head no as he said yes. That was weird. He was like shaking his head, kind of nodding it like a little bit back and forth, and he goes, yeah, they're cooperating. You know, she said they're cooperating.
They wouldn't want to go into details and say, yeah, they're answering our questions, just not truthfully.
I'm sure they had a lot to say. Well, not Candace. I don't think she had very much to say. I imagine, Don, he made it sound like he was, they were going to give him an honorary badge. He was helping so much.
Is there still a reward being offered if any information or ever is found?
Well, I can tell you that law enforcement did not coordinate that reward, so you would need to reach out to the Churchill Rescue Squad for information in that aspect.
Are the boys still in DC at custody?
That's not something we can speak to.
They knew better than to ask that. That is a private matter. The boys are minors. They cannot answer stuff about the boys.
Yeah, they'd have to know that. They can't give out that information, any information about minors.
No, and they know better than that. I think they were just looking for her reaction, just like a mannerism, like, she's shaking her head yes, but says we can't answer that or something. They knew better than that. They knew she can't answer that. And she shouldn't. She shouldn't. The boys need to be left alone.
I agree.
Allegedly said, journalists always ask the wrong question, hoping they will slip up. Yeah, I agree.
We do know that last year you guys pushed out some information about the red truck. I know that this is on here, but just we, can talk about it with you guys. Is that still something you're looking for? Do you still want people to submit tips, or is that over and you're just not looking for the red truck anymore?
I'm going to call on TBI Special Agent in Charge, Garrett Newport, just to talk about that and where that stands.
I would tell you yes, just to eliminate. We still don't have a good timeline on when that was observed.
Damn timeline again. So they're saying, yeah, they want to eliminate something. So they want to talk to whoever was driving that truck. Now, some people say the red truck is basically a red herring to keep Don and Candace and Grandis calm, that we're not looking at you. We're looking for this person in the red truck. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that it was legitimately somebody in a company truck that was in the area and did see a red truck, but can't remember exactly which day it was. And that there was probably some debate on even putting anything out about the red truck. Like they can't narrow down, like if it was the day before the 15th or if it was on the 15th, like whoever saw the truck, I don't know if they can say 100% for sure that it was that day they saw that red truck there.
I agree 100%, because we did a show about the red truck maybe in the last month, because I came across an article and it was from August of 2021. It said anybody that saw the red truck on the 14th or 15th. And I kept saying, what would the significance of the 14th be? So that explains it, because it could have been the 14th.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I've had, like, where I know I've saw something of, but I can't remember, like, was that yesterday or the day before that I, so it was supposedly somebody driving a company truck, but they can't say for certain which day it was that they saw the red truck.
And what is so weird about that, you and I were talking about this, I think, before the show, when you're in a rural area, it might have been on the show, hell, I don't know, I'm so confused today. You kind of know in small communities who drives what. I would think in a year, somebody be like, oh, that's such and such truck.
Yeah, and even just call in and say, And they may have, because they said they had followed tips on some red trucks, but none of them checked out to be that red truck.
And it still freaks me out. Here we are, over a year later, and he's saying, we do want to talk to the person driving the red truck. Mentions the timeline again, but Robin takes it upon herself on the flyers and the posters to mark the red truck out. She told Chris McDonough, she even put in the air how she was making an X saying, red truck doesn't matter. Red truck doesn't matter. Red truck doesn't matter. And here we are again, them saying, yeah, we want to eliminate that. We want to talk to him, especially, and then brings up the timeline. I just thought that was so weird for her to take it upon herself to deface missing flyers and posters saying that doesn't matter. Well, what if it does?
Well, I would personally never take any information off a missing flyer unless I was directly told to by LE, first of all.
No.
I wouldn't go by stuff I heard on social media or anything else. I mean, I would need to be directly told by LE before I started removing information.
I would never do that. What is she? I mean, you can't. If they say it's important, it's important. It's part of their process, one way or another.
Yeah, and they would have to tell me different, and then I would mark it out. But I would have to hear it directly from LE.
Yeah, when they make a statement saying, "Forget the red truck. We've had a million calls about the red truck. We've sized it up. Don't need any more tips about the red truck." Then the red truck isn't important. I just thought that was the strangest thing when I saw her doing that. Well, not the strangest in this case, but I just thought that took the ball. That takes the. You'd have to have the balls of a burglar to sit there. Nope, I marked it out. It doesn't matter.
People in frequent areas on a regular basis get their dates and get days mixed up. We still want to figure out who, if possible, and if that's even a legitimate lead. So as she said earlier, we followed a lot of dead leads that didn't produce anything. So that obviously is still something we want to put to bed, but it's not. We still can't pinpoint a date and an exact location of that truck.
That scares the hell out of me. We still can't pinpoint a date or any exact location. So they just need. I mean, he says people get dates and times mixed up. That's true. And I still want to know what this, I mean, well, I guess we'll figure it out later.
Anybody else?
When this first came out, you guys said that Summer was last seen walking away from home. That was like one of the initial.
She just shook her head no.
I caught that.
Okay, watch this again, guys. This is where she's being asked about Summer walking away, wandering off.
Anybody else?
When this first came out, you guys said that Summer was last seen walking away from her home. That was like one of the initial reports that night. And then things kind of changed the following days. There's any evidence that she walked away from home or any evidence leading to an abduction, or do you have any evidence of anything that night otherwise?
We don't have anything specific. And I think what's important to note there is that the sheriff mentioned that how many hours we've put into this investigation and how much time has been spent exploring every possibility, walk-off, abduction, other foul means. And
other foul means. And he paused when he said other foul means. Okay, so I've got the answer I need because Leslie was standing there shaking her head no.
Now, did you see him glance over at where Leslie's standing when he said the foul, what foul means?
Uh-huh.
He glanced over at Leslie.
Yep. I'm going to look at that again, guys. Sorry.
When this first came out, you guys said that Summer was last seen walking away from her home. That was like one of the initial reports that night. And then things.
Okay, she shook her head no. She's getting ready to answer, and he jumps in. We already know about the man hours, but we're trying to get around this question.
Kind of changed the following days. There's any evidence that she walked away from home or any evidence leading to an abduction, or do we have any evidence of anything that night otherwise?
we don't have anything.
This question makes him uncomfortable, not because he can't answer it, but he's got to be very careful about the way he answers it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he's got to choose his words carefully.
This is not a question you can just ignore for obvious reasons. He didn't want her talking, and she was getting ready to. She was already shaking her head no.
Specific, and I think what's important to note there is that the sheriff mentioned that how many hours we've put into this investigation and how much time has been spent exploring every possibility: walk-off, abduction, other foul means. And
okay, and he looks right at her when he says, and he's got his hands, he does his hands towards Leslie, looks at her, and he goes, and other foul means.
Right. I mean, when he was choosing what to say, he was looking around, glancing down, like it's probably normal. But when he said foul means, he looks directly and like kind of gestures his hands towards Leslie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very tongue in cheek.
I think that's the thing to keep in mind is it's still really wide open as to the what. We try to stay away from developing theories and just follow facts.
You mentioned that you're continuing
I'd love to know the facts.
to look at this case every day. Are there more searches planned as we're approaching the summer months?
No specific plan. However, if we get specific information about a specific location, building, what have you, we will coordinate with each other to go take a look at that location. What made it hard back in the summer is obviously the foliage. That's why you saw the two searches that were when the leaves were on the ground, so that we could use air assets and that you could actually see more of what's on the ground at the time. People say, well, leaves to cover things up. Well, it's moving things around enough, you'll see what you're looking for.
In the past, you said that there's no evidence that there was an abduction. Does that still stand?
It still stands.
It stays.
Okay, right there. So we can forget abduction. That still stands. So what I've got from just the last part of this press conference, they brought up very early on, you thought she wandered off. Leslie's shaking her head no. Check that off. Check it off. She didn't wander off. He looks right at her. He says, other foul means. Now they're just asked again about abduction. She said, that still stands. He said, we have looked at every possibility. Did she wander off? Abduction. And that's when he said, or other foul means. It seems to me that the direction of this investigation has been for some time other foul means.
I agree, because they had no problem. They didn't even have to even remotely look at each other. They both were like, no signs of abduction at all. I mean, that's one that looked like they were definitely on the same thoughts with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to watch it again a few more times. Not on this show. She was shaking her head no. Asking about last seen walking away, wandered off. She shakes her head no. She just said, does that still stand? Yep, that still stands. She was not abducted. Pat K, I agree. Talking about Robin marking the red truck off the missing posters. Or did someone tell her to cross it off? I could just hear Dawn saying they don't need that red truck. He also is the one that says the TBI doesn't have shit and they're never going to find her. Remember when he said that? I bet you loved hearing that as a local.
Yeah, I can't just believe some of the stuff that came out of a parent's mouth when their child is missing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Bridget sums it up. She says, my original theory still isn't ruled out. Somebody lost their temper on Summer. That could very well be.
I think that's a good possibility.
Let's remember, Candace lost 2 children to the state of Wisconsin, 3 to the state of Tennessee, and Summer vanished into thin air. That's something that needs to be remembered.
Do the facts point towards one theory more than another?
No, they do not.
Or what happened?
She shook her head yes, and then was listening to him, and so then she started agreeing with him.
Not this point.
Well, thank you guys for being here. I just want to point out one more thing. This case is not cold. We get asked that a lot. It's not. We're talking to the sheriff constantly. We all work together as one team, and we're determined to find answers. Thank you for coming.
Okay, so she reaffirmed what Lawson said earlier in the press conference when he said TBI and FBI have worked with, assisted us step by step in this investigation. So it's not just Lawson running the show. So if this becomes a cold case and they never figure anything out, it's on the heads of 3 agencies: Hawkins, FBI, and TBI. I don't think that's going to happen. I actually have a lot more faith after breaking this down with you guys than I did last week because I was a little let down.
Yeah, I have faith they'll figure it out. Just not the pace we would prefer.
Oh, it never is. I mean, every now and then we're like, wow, they got that solved fast, but they had a credible tip.
Yeah.
I remember the little girl in Australia, and she was abducted and she was found fast. Now, I mean, people were, of course, blaming the parents. Some people still think the parents had something to do with it. And they were like, oh, people need to do like the police in Australia did. But they had a credible tip. When you've got something to go off and investigate, what they've been investigating is the bullshit they're told by Don and Candace.
I'd like to know the statistics on that. Like, what are the statistics for an investigation that hasn't received like any credible tips? How often do those usually end up coming back to being like the parents or someone close to the person?
That would be interesting to know. And people have asked several times, they don't need a body. They don't need a body. They don't. It just makes things a lot easier. And you've got a jury of 12 people. You've got to convince them. It only takes one to say, she could have wandered off. Nah, I know that area. She could have easily wandered off. And that's it. Done. Quitted. Done. Over.
I think that might be one reason why it is taking so long. Like, they do have other evidence. It's just may not be the concrete evidence that they would like it to be. And they need that last bit of evidence to make sure that it's a solid case.
I thought things would really get rolling with Don in jail. I thought they would just bug the shit out of him until he slipped and said something that they could follow up on.
I did too. I was very hopeful that, and when they got that phone data back.
Me too. I'm going to put the link up again. I'm loving all the comments in chat as usual. Tiffany said, yes, they have a lot, in my opinion. I mean, they've got to have a lot. It's a year. It probably looks like a Tokyo telephone book. I bet they got a ton of stuff. Laura said that whole group of people on Ben Hill are corrupt. They all have something on each other. That's why no one will talk. That's been said, for a year. They're like they're not. They all have something on each other. It's just, loose lips sink ships. They're not going to say anything.
Yeah, and all of Beach Creek's not a bad community. Everybody that lives in that community is not bad, but birds of a feather flock together. You got your good people, and then of course the ones not necessarily the best people in the world. They're going to have stuff on each other more than likely.
It would just be their circle. And it's really sad that certain people take an entire community or an entire section of Tennessee and say they're all, dirtbags like Don and Candace. I absolutely hate that. That is disgusting to say that.
But then the other ones that came out too haven't been the best either, so.
They haven't had a lot of help, have they?
Yeah.
They have not had a lot of help.
Right.
Well, guys, I'm going to start winding this down. I'm actually more interested in this press conference than I was before. Again, I apologize for the audio when we did it last Wednesday. Finally got a better tape where the microphones and stuff were working. So Truth Quest Tennessee, love when locals come on, and I really, really appreciate your insight, especially telling us about what was going on early on.
Thank you for having me, and I was so nervous, and thanks for making it like easier for me here. It was a lot better than I expected. I was so nervous coming on here.
Nah, everybody here is so cool. And we just have, such a laid back community. That's why I say it every day. And I will continue saying it. We have the best community and best chat on YouTube. Everybody, even if they don't agree with someone's opinion or theory, they just let it scroll by. We're not going to have a pissing contest in here.
It really is. Now I feel almost silly for being so nervous about it.
Nah, not with this group. All right, I'll see you in Discord, girlfriend.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for being here and going through that with me. We'll go through it again. You know how we do around here. I still look at when they asked Leslie about, walking off, wandering off, and she's shaking her head no. That's all I need. When they are asking about the abduction, nope, no abduction. That's all I need. And then I see the mannerisms when they said other foul means. Whew. Other foul means. That's hard to hear, but we expected it. So you guys come back here at noon. In just about an hour. So it's noon my time, noon central. We are going to be talking about a new case, Dylan Rounds, missing out of Utah. It's a really crazy case. So come back here at noon. In the meantime, send me an email and I'll get you a link to Discord to come in there and chat between shows. And thanks to the mods. You guys are the best. And, or check us out on Facebook. See you next time. Bye-bye.